game that perhaps set offensive football back a couple of decades. Bulldogs won. Arkansas got on the board first. Let's just start with a scoring summary. With 12:30 to go in the first quarter, the outstanding kicker for Arkansas banged it home from 25 yards to finish a 6-play, 29-yard drive that took 1:55 off of an opening possession turnover, and the Razorbacks led it 3-0. About 14 minutes of game time later, Mississippi State got into the end zone. Woody Marks on a 2-yard pass reception from Mike Wright to make it 7-3. That was a 9-play, 69-yard drive that took 4 minutes and 32 seconds. After that, there was nothing after that. 7-3, your final. Dogs win. Your turn, hey, Dad.
Well, hey, what else do you need to know? Hey, they got the W, right? That's all that matters. Woof. First time MSU has won a game.
You woofed.
I woofed.
Woof.
Woof.
Buzz, your girlfriend.
First.
Great reference. He may not have seen Karate Kid, but he's seen Home Alone.
Nailed it.
Good job. That is the first win for State where they scored in single digits since 1987. Mississippi State 9, Memphis 6 was the last time. Memphis State, I should say, 6 that this has happened. My favorite part of this game, and we talked about this on the podcast for today, I can debate you all day on the greatest touchdown, the greatest game, the greatest players in Mississippi State history, but there can be no debate that the greatest penalty in Mississippi State history is Xavier Thomas's false start, which saved a touchdown and saved the win for Mississippi State. I've never seen anything like that. The play of the game was a false start.
If
Mike
you weren't
Wright
watching and you don't remember the specific play, it was yet another spot where the snap kind of rolled its way back, bounced its way back to Mike Wright. He goes chasing it, kicks it, it gets bounced around. Arkansas finally picks it up, scoops and scores. And I got to be honest with you, I'm watching in real time, and I'm seeing the official that's kind of at the bottom of the screen waving his hands over his head, and I'm going, you blew the play, Dad. What are you doing? How do you stop that play? And then I realize, oh, that was a dead ball foul. That is a 5-yard penalty on Mississippi State. They just took points off the board. It was the only way. It appeared that Arkansas was going to score. It's hard for me to believe that Mississippi State would have scored to have overcome that deficit.
I don't know.
I don't think they would have.
I mean, they missed a field goal, so, I mean, it could have tied it up there, I guess, but you know, it is what it is there. My favorite part of that whole exchange was the Arkansas fan just saying, wave it off, doesn't matter. Like, you don't know that that's a dead ball foul? That does matter. Mike Wright, I mean, was really limited in terms of the play calling, but at the same time, I think the play calling was kind of done to keep him from himself sometimes. I mean, if you ever wondered why Will Rogers was the starting quarterback, now you know. Mike Wright is just not a competent enough passer. You know, he's great with his feet. He can do some things there. But in terms of being able to move the ball with the passing game, he just can't do it.
The problem is being elite with your feet only. If you can't throw the ball, is you can't win a game that way.
See Auburn.
Yeah. There were a couple of times, even in that game, though, where I was yelling at the TV, take off, run, where he would have maybe like one guy in space where he would throw the ball anyway. And, you know, if that's the one thing you're good at, then just go be good at that. And didn't seize opportunities always there. But, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, there's the play now if you're watching on SuperTalk TV.
Yeah.
State, if they're going to go this route with Mike Wright, and based on everything I know that I don't expect Rodgers back this week, they've got to find a way to call plays to suit him a little bit better. Some more zone read, some more design quarterback runs. That's the only way forward. There he is. There's my guy right there. False start. Decline it. You can't decline a false start, you moron. And
my favorite was the girl that was sitting there where she just looked at the camera and she went,
A perfect 90-degree thumbs down to her. Like you could have cut paper between her thumb and her forefinger there. It's incredible. Yeah, this game had, if you were a fan of sad fans and Surrender Cobras, this was a tremendous game for you. There were plenty of them. God, missing that field goal was incredible.
Did you think they lost when he missed that? Was your thought, oh, it's over? Arkansas is going to go score? And
I didn't think the way Arkansas had played all day, I did not think that they could do it. I thought, when they got out to midfield here towards the end, I was a little bit nervous because I knew KJ had the arm strength to get the ball into the end zone.
He didn't, though.
But State doesn't.
He didn't even get the Hail Mary into the end zone. He left it short. It was only a 55-yard pass from where he let it go.
It's like right at the end zone. He would have been. I think he's okay there.
Hey, Dad, you have to get that pass into the end zone on a Hail Mary.
It's like right at the goal line.
Oh, okay. So if Arkansas catches that ball short of the goal line, what happens? The exact same thing that happened. 7-3 final.
Well, I'll take that too.
We'll be back as Arkansas goes down at home to Mississippi State. Final score 7-3. Let's talk about the good first, beyond the fact that Mississippi State won the game. Hey, there was nothing that Mississippi State needed more than a win. And people love to tell you before a game starts, I'll take a 1-point win or a 1,000-point win. Just give me a win. Well, it was ugly, and no doubt. And the offense was abysmal, no doubt. But we have a scoreboard. Every stadium in the SEC has at least one scoreboard. Most of them have multiple. And they put the number of points that both teams get. And when the game goes to completion, it's all zeros on the clock. You either get a check mark in a column on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side. And State got a check mark in the left-hand column on Saturday. And that is absolutely what they have. So we start there with the good. But to me, the next thing in the good is the play of two leading tacklers returning in the SEC. In Buki Watson and Jet Johnson. I thought they were phenomenal. And they just tackled and tackled and tackled and tackled and tackled.
And Buki Watson, one of your now traditional co-SEC defensive players of the week. The SEC can't just give one guy the award anymore.
You get a trophy.
Defensively,
you get a trophy, and you get a trophy.
Defensively, yeah, there's a lot of positives to take away because this is a defense that had not played well all year. At any game. Just 2 weeks ago, they gave up 28 points to Western Michigan. So to go out and hold an SEC offense that had scored 20-plus points on LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, there's a lot of good from that. I found it interesting today at the press conference when asked about differences in the game plan differences. Did he, we wanted to ask, did Arnett take play calling back from Brock on this? And he said, no differences. So I personally would have been like, yeah, a lot of differences, just because it makes it sound like the other option is Arkansas was so bad that even this worst defense in the conference was able to stop them at will. I mean, it's quite possible that no team in SEC play will play a better defensive game than Mississippi State did on Saturday. Only giving up 3 points, only giving up 200 yards. The second best game might be what Arkansas did to Mississippi State, and then only giving up 7 points and 205 yards.
Hold on a second. I'm not sure I agree. Now, statistically, it may be the best defensive performance in the SEC this year. Statistically.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
But a defense, I mean, you could watch a game where you see a defense go out and play and shut down a competent offense and make big plays and turn the game around where you're like, that was an elite defensive performance.
But is there going to be a game where somebody gets shut out, basically? And is there going to be a game where somebody gives up fewer than 200 yards? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Probably not. What would be the answer to that?
Yeah. But, of course, we tried that. We tried that a few weeks ago with the Ole Miss kicker's field goal, and then the very next week somebody beat it. So I look forward to whoever gets shut out this week. We're sorry we jinxed you.
Vanderbilt's in real trouble, but the point's a good one because the game it was very ugly. 7-3 is, I mean, it's one of the worst football games that you can watch, especially in this era where points just happen I mean, even on accident sometimes. And for that to be what the game was a very hard watch. But I think there's been a lot of, well, Arkansas is just bad. And I think that's disingenuous because, as Haydad pointed out, this is an Arkansas team that's already played Texas A&M at a neutral site. They've already been to Baton Rouge. They've been to Oxford, and they've been to Tuscaloosa. And that was their worst offensive output of the year. And that's at home. So when it's ugly and when it's bad, it's only half bad. Now, I know that Arkansas's lost 6 games in a row, and they just fired their offensive coordinator, a guy they should have never hired to begin with. If we're being totally honest, that fit never made sense, and nobody but us talked about it this offseason. I remember bringing that up in August, like, hey, why is nobody talking about Dan Enos being at Arkansas? Like, that's just going to go well? It didn't. 8 games in, they fire him, and they're paying him $3.5 million for that. But to just dismiss it as, well, Arkansas is bad, and that's why State's defense was so good, I don't think that's fair. I think that's a little disingenuous. That they played really well on Saturday, on that side of the ball.
They did. And, again, 2 weeks ago against a bad MAC team, they gave up a ton of points and yards. So that's not that's a good defensive game for Mississippi State. Is it replicable? I don't know because I don't feel like I'm going to get an answer this week when they play Auburn, who is just as bad offensively as is Arkansas. Then they'll play Kentucky. This is all good news for Mississippi State, though. These games I'm mentioning, winnable. These are winnable football games for Mississippi State coming forward. So they needed the win. They needed to look better defensively. I mean, how much different is the game if the blindside block doesn't get called as a penalty and the field goal is good and it's 17-3? I think we're talking about 2 different games at that point. But they needed the win and they needed to play better defensively. They did those 2 things. And now it's just about, with another week of repetition, can Mike Wright give you a little bit more? Can you find a way for Mike Wright to give you more offensively? If you can do that and play defense like you played on Saturday, you got a chance to win some games.
Was there any other good?
That's a mean question.
I'm
kidding.
I want us to talk about the good because there's some bad that we got to talk about also.
There is. I thought from an offensive standpoint, Mike Wright, he showed you what he can do with his legs. You know, he had, 80 or 60 some odd yards rushing, had a 60-yard run, called back on.
He gained 74 yards, but then when you factor in sack yardage, he had 60 yards on 11 carries.
Right, and had a 60-yard touchdown run called back on a penalty. So he showed you he can do some things. You know, when Woody Marks is healthy, he's a dynamic player, but he is struggling doing that. Other than that, though, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, if this was a good, bad, and ugly kind of thing, there's some good, there's a little good, there's a lot of bad, and then there's a whole heck of a lot of ugly.
Yeah.
It's a shame he can't stay healthy, man. He's been really good.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been fantastic when he's been able to stay in the game. So we'll see if he can do it. What's going to happen coming this week.
So Mike Wright just can't throw, right? I mean, that's the.
He's just not a good thrower of the football.
The Justin Griffin catch changed the game. Justin, right? Justin Robinson.
Oh, Justin's correct.
I'm sorry. I was trying to make Tulu Griffin and Justin Robinson.
He merged 2 guys together.
Justin Robinson.
What a super receiver that would be.
Yeah, it would.
It changed the game because that was a poorly thrown football.
Made a play.
That was a 30-yard go route. It was a 30-yard reception. I mean, he threw it from the front edge of the end zone, and it wobbled like a wounded duck the entire way. It was underthrown. The DB was in position to make an interception. That ball is in the air, and I'm going, oh, no. And then Justin Robinson leaps, and you're like, oh, that's what happens when you got a guy that's 6'4", 220 with like a 38-inch vertical jump. And that's exactly what he did. He just went up over everybody and said, my ball.
When we were talking about Penn State a few minutes ago, and we're saying sometimes you got to force the ball down the field. Sometimes you got to allow your receivers to make plays. And that's what they did in that situation. Would they have preferred a better thrown ball? Yeah. Yeah, it goes without saying. But they put the ball up there.
Yeah, like
they said, you go make the play.
He might catch it and go 99 yards to the house.
Yeah, he might. But as it was, he made the play. And, yeah, that was a huge play because even though State punts on that drive, they're able to flip the field position. They're not punting out of the back of their own end zone. So,
and that was after 3 straight false starts, 2 of which were illegal snaps.
Which is after
right?
this play that we're about to watch here where Arkansas gets the delay of game. I wanted to talk about this a little bit. I don't know if you guys saw this quote from Sam Pittman. It is incredible. I'm going to read the quote. I don't normally like to read the whole thing, but here we go. Somebody asked him basically what happened there. He's like, I had decided it was 4th and 4, I think, right in Cam's range, and I didn't know what to do, to be perfectly honest with you. I was probably about 8 seconds on the 40-second clock, maybe 10, and I decided to kick a field goal. We didn't kick it off in time. That's the truth. I did not want to call a timeout at that point because I wasn't for sure I wanted to kick a field goal. We kicked it down to the 2 or whatever. To be honest with you, I didn't know what to do. I didn't make the decision fast enough. Once I got it in there, I thought we have plenty of time to kick it. But at that point, I wasn't going to burn timeout. That is a SEC coach making however many millions a year telling you,
6.
I didn't know what to do. That is an incredible. I mean, that's the kind of quote that gets you fired. I'm surprised they didn't just go ahead and fire him, to be honest with you today.
His game management for multiple times this season has been egregious, like rookie type stuff.
Yeah,
something similar at the end of the LSU game as well.
I have been slow to the Sam Pittman's got to go party. I think he's got to like him. Like I really like Sam Pittman, but this thing's a disaster at Arkansas. It might be a disaster at Auburn too, but it's a disaster at Arkansas. And